I'm really happy to be back here. I just checked that my last meet Magento Romania, it was back in 2016. So wow, the time really flies. But I'm so happy to be here. Like Cluj is really a beautiful place. It's a beautiful city. And every time I'm here, it's not only business. I try to spend a little bit more time to enjoy it, like a short holidays. And just to give you a little bit of background for my slides that should appear at some point here. Whenever I go to Cluj, it's not only just for the conference, spending some time in this beautiful old town, but I also love to enjoy outdoors. So every time I try to go for a run somewhere on the hills around the city, because outside of all those business and working for Magento community, doing all that stuff, I love trail running. For a huge part of my life, I was training like a semi-professional athlete, running my team. So I would say that I should consider myself as a pretty able person and pretty fit. But that showed me one thing. Right now, I'm 45, and I can clearly say that ability is temporary. Like, I need glasses, yeah, just to see you clearly. Now it's much better. So you see, in that, a lot of people who knows me, they would think that, yeah, like, this guy is fit, he's training, he's taking part in different championships, he's building web, he's pretty active in all those communities, so for sure he doesn't need any assistive technologies. Why? But the truth is that maybe that was true when I was in my 20s. But now, of course, because of professional or semi-professional sport, I have a lot of different injuries. So that's one thing. And the second thing is that I'm just getting older. So I need glasses. I need different interface. Like, it's like 45, I still feel, yeah, that's fine. A couple world championships are still in front of me, but I need glasses. I need different web interface. And actually, glasses are just assistive technology. This is something that helps me see clearly, like I used to see before. So the same way, a lot of people can use internet only thanks to assistive technologies. And to make those assistive technologies working with the web, we need to build the web in a proper way. You can see here that when we think about assistive technologies, we usually think about people who are blind or deaf or, I don't know, fully paralyzed. But actually, when we have to use our smartphone and make a quick purchase in a coffee shop outside in the bright sun, we need a high contrast website. Other way, we are not able to make a purchase. And if we want to hear a video in a loud environment, we need closed captions because we cannot hear anything. Like even sometimes in the plane, we want to watch a movie, but it's super loud, and we just need text alternative to the sound. So sometimes, in some special occasions, all of us are disabled. And that just creates a completely different point of view. Of course, we can live with that. It's not a problem. If I will not watch a movie or on the plane, or if I will not pay for my coffee right now here in the sun, that's not a big deal. But for some people, using internet the same way we can use it just opens completely different opportunities. Some people can live a normal life, can have a normal work, and feel that they are really part of the community, even if they are fully paralyzed. I organize accessibility meetups in Poznań, and one of our speakers was a guy who is fully paralyzed, and even with that, he's making lectures live on the university, he's writing books, and all of that he's doing with just movements of his eyes. With his eyeballs, he can actually give lectures. So it gives you just an example that technology gives a lot of opportunities for many people, but when building websites or building this technology, we should just think about it. Think that this is quite big group of our customers, and this group is getting even bigger. Look at that. There are some important numbers. 1 of 6 people globally experience significant disability. So 1.3 billion people, that's a decent number. So we can think that some people of this group, they should be our clients. So if we make our services or products inaccessible, we just say no to this percentage of potential customers. And when it comes to Romania, this is about 1 million people. So even in the country perspective, it's a pretty big number. So we are talking about people with visible and invisible disabilities, and this number doesn't cover the group I just mentioned. So people who are older or who are temporarily disabled because of some injury or some sickness. So this is the more and more important group. The internet really started something like 30 years ago, 20, 30 years ago. So let's think about it. If people who were creating internet was 20 years old, so how old they are now? 50? And let's think about us. We are buying almost everything on the internet. So do you think that if I will be 55 or 65, I will stop doing it? No. Hopefully I will have even more money to buy more. So we have to think about the people that we are getting older as a society, as internet users, and of course e-commerce customers. So in 10 years, users in this group, which is right now considered like a full fit, it will get to the much higher age, and there will still be a huge group of customers. This is an interesting report from Poland. Unfortunately, I couldn't find anything similar for Romania, but you can see how those numbers are changing. These reports are between 22 and 23, so of course the data is from 21 and 22. Let's just look at this 50+ category, how it's changed. 5% over a year. This is a percentage, like a age distribution among e-commerce clients. So 5% in only 1 year. We are just getting older. And even with that, this is pretty old data from Weimar Institute. Of course, it's getting better, but 94% of e-commerce sites have accessibility issues. And I think when you think about your websites, your services, you will also see that who remembers to add alternative text to images? Almost no one. Only few people think about it. Like, we just drop image. Many of you use Twitter, now X. Am I correct? How many of you are using Twitter? Okay, some of you. We post a lot of messages, and very often we post just a quick photo. So anyone thinks about adding alternative text to such images? Okay, 1. Congrats. 2. Of course, right now we have to think about it. Hopefully, a lot of work will be taken by automated solutions, by AI. But we have to do that. We have to think about it, and maybe in the future we can make it simpler with other tools. So there are common problems with images, with links, with keyboard navigation, and with forms. And forms, this is especially important for e-commerce, because e-commerce is all about forms. How could you finish the checkout if you cannot fill the form? So when I would have to point out the most important area for e-commerce, this is definitely forms. How you can use forms, because if you want to finish checkout, you need form. If checkout is not working and you want to contact customer service, you need to use another form. If you cannot use the form, you're stuck. So we are talking about making our world better. Of course, this is a great mission. Like, I started thinking about accessibility 20 years ago when I actually started my career in web development. But at that time, I was thinking it would be nice to make everything accessible. But actually, why we built e-commerce? We built e-commerce to earn money. We build websites to earn money. It's not really a mission, it's not a charity. I would say that most of us do it in a commercial way, not as a charity. So we have to think about accessibility as something that has to have some support from the government, from different organizations, because other way, whatever we would like to think about importance of that mission, it will have a lower priority. So do we need to make our services accessible by law? We will have to. Because the new regulation, European Accessibility Act, will force all European Union members to follow the guidelines. Of course, there are some countries who already have such regulations, and one of them is USA with American with Disabilities Act. There is Switzerland, and there is UK. And of course, what is important to make this law somehow operational? Of course, some fines. If you don't comply with regulations, with guidelines, you will get a fine. And that's I would say, one of the strongest incentives to make sure that the products and services we build are accessible. So the guidelines are already there, but the thing is that every state member had to prepare its own law, because European Accessibility Act is just a guideline. It's not a strict law. So here, we can think how we can get ready for that. So the most important thing will be to identify in which member states your store or your service you deliver to build a store is operating. Because, of course, those laws are pretty similar, but they may be different in details. And, of course, different in how much money you have to pay for failure. But let's focus on how to comply, not how to avoid fines. So identifying the state is number one. Of course, it's a lot of work. If you operate in 5, 6 markets, you need to carefully check the most important regulations in all of those markets. Because it's not like you have to follow EAA, you just have to follow the local regulation. But to make it easier, it's definitely important to understand the key principles of that act. Oh, by the way, Romania has a really decent national strategy for 22 to 27. It's not really directly tied to this European Act, but actually, like when I was looking for information about Romania, I was impressed. I was impressed not only that this strategy exists, that it's really nice aligned, but also how it was prepared. When you will have a chance, I really suggest that you look at that. No, it's Romanian, would be good to know. But it is one of the best examples I know of preparing accessible content. Because accessibility is not only about my glasses, about seeing or not seeing or navigating through the keyboard, but it's also about understanding the content. And most of the government documents are written in this way that without PhD in some, social science, there is no way to understand it. But actually, this document by itself, it's really nicely written, but it also has an easy-to-read language version. And this is awesome. Because we have to understand that we have different levels of educations. We may have a different perception of information. And what we get, what language is provided to us to give us this information is super important. Because after all, when we give some message, when we publish a strategy, we want people to understand that. It doesn't make sense just to publish it to, check. Yeah, strategy checked. Nobody will understand what's inside. So I really like it. This is way better in a form of communication than the strategy we have in Poland. It's okay. Our strategy is fine. It's like it's covering the most important elements. But actually, like when I'm in the middle of the Polish documents, I'm already so exhausted that I need a break. And with this one, it's a pleasure to read. So I really encourage you to take a look at that. It's a really nice document and a good example how to provide something very detailed in a more technical way, and in the same time provide same information in a simplified way. Because the same way you can communicate with your clients. So what is all this? What is all about? Most of EU countries already had policies for accessibility of the government and public sites, and that's like a more or less common for years. But European Accessibility Act brings it much farther. It makes it required for all organizations to make everything they provide accessible. So of course, here we talk about e-commerce. So we talk about digital accessibility, about service accessibility. So your website, mobile apps, or any other channels. For example, if you do video shopping, it should be also accessible. So the service is number one. You have to think how that your message, that your service is built in a proper way. But there is also product accessibility. And maybe this is not really relevant to this group, but it's a huge difference. Because right now, every manufacturer building some products in EU have to think if the product will be accessible. And there is a good example. In recent years, most of the shops invested in touchscreen card readers for payments. And that's, of course, that's super handy. But without a special add-on on the touchscreen, it's super difficult, confusing for a blind person. Imagine that you have to go and pay with your card and type your PIN. On the touch screen, without a special grid that helps you fill the right keys, it's impossible. So all you can do is to loudly say your PIN to the service in the store. So you know the huge security risk, a big discomfort. It makes it a terrible experience. So of course, all those devices has to be made accessible. It doesn't mean that all the touch screens has to be replaced, but they need to be equipped with some additional tools that can make them accessible. This is just a simple example, but it shows how many devices we use on a daily basis. They will need some adjustments. Of course, this regulation is not super strict. It doesn't mean that in June 25 we will have just to throw away a lot of equipment. The European Act leaves a lot of gaps. And I think it's for purpose, because it is written in a smart way that we have to do all we can to make our world accessible, our services, products, but if you are selling one product a month, and you would have to invest thousands of euros just to make your service accessible, you don't have to. It's just when we are building something new, it has to be accessible. But if redoing the old solution to make it accessible is too expensive comparing to the business stability, or it just doesn't make sense, it's okay. So it's important for all new products, new services. For the old one, it's more nice to have. So we had services, we have product accessibility. As product is also software. So if we design some software, it has to follow the same guidelines. And communication accessibility. That's something I mentioned when talking about the Romanian strategy. So this is part of making our world easier to understand. So understanding the concept of the simple language, easy to read in English, is super important. Just understand that we have different customers, different clients. They may understand our message in a different way. So creating a simple message, much simpler language, is really important part of making it all accessible. So this is also about creating easy access to your customer service. When building customer service for e-commerce, we think what our clients like to use the best. So of course, phone number, this is number one because everyone grabs a phone and contact the customer service. Then maybe chat. But if we add accessibility layer to that, we have to think a little broader about that. So we have to provide couple alternative versions, so people using different assistive technologies, they can still access our customer service. Because if we offer only phone without any other alternative, and we have a deaf people trying to ask what's happening with her or his order, they are stuck. There's no way they can communicate. So communication accessibility and providing the right form of communication is super important. This is also combined with the thing I mentioned at the very beginning about forms. If forms are not accessible, our clients cannot reach us. And super important part, nothing will happen without training and awareness. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm building awareness. Because all those technologies, all those accessibility improvements are not like a rocket science. We don't have to plan a technology that will take us to Mars tomorrow. It's already there. All those technologies are on the market. Those guidelines are with us for years. This is really not difficult, but we have to think about it. So training and awareness is one of the most important elements. And it's also important to understand that this training and awareness should be company-wide. It's not only for one group of people, for only developers or only project managers. And I will explain that a little bit more later. And continuous reporting and compliance. Accessibility is not a one-time action. This is something that has to be a process. So following the point number 4, training and awareness, reporting and compliance monitoring has to be just a constant process. Like every week, every day, every new feature, every new update of the content, every new product, it should have a process. If it's accessible, if we don't break it. Because the most beautiful, accessible website, the website that we deliver to the market, can be broken really quickly with just inserting inaccessible content. Like let's think about it. We have one of the biggest promotions ever, and the only way to communicate about this promotion is huge graphic banner on the homepage with the text on the banner. Huge discount, have, I don't know, 40% off if you buy 3 products from the category. There is no way that assistive technology like a screen reader can read it. Of course, maybe in the future with like image recognition and all different vision AI, we can do it. But right now, let's think about practical approach. So those are simple things, because adding alternative text to this banner, or maybe adding, in general, a text version, is accessible, but it also improves the general SEO. So everything, we have to think that making site accessible, making it accessible for assistive technologies, it also works good for robots, for search engines, because they work like assistive technology. They cannot really see the website, they read the website. So if they can read it the right way, most likely our users can also do that, and opposite. So education of the team. It's not only about developers. As I said before, it's about all different types of our operations. So it has to start from the management, because if management is not educated about accessibility, they will never accept any action, because they will ask, okay, how we make more money with that? I don't know. It's really not easy to quantify. Maybe we'll get one extra client. So there is a bigger education needed. Why? Because of the legal requirements, because of extra clients, because of our CSR. So that's number one. Then we have to educate customer service. They should be ready for different type of clients. They can approach them. What to do if they have a client who cannot really access this channel of customer service, or you have a client who doesn't understand what we say in our emails or text messages, they should know what to do. Store managers, that's something I told you about the banner. Like, if store manager doesn't know about accessibility, how to insert, how to publish information in the right way, they will do it in the best way for themselves. That's obvious. Like, when we do our work, we try to simplify our life, not to overcomplicate it. So if inserting one graphic from our designer and forgetting about it is enough, okay, that's enough. So education of all people on different levels is super important. System architects, tech teams, that's obvious. If we build a website, if we build a new feature, making it accessible should be just a normal path of quality assurance. So if we check if some feature is working, that's fine. But then the next step is checking if it's accessible. And that should be just a normal process, nothing extra. So accessibility, of course, it is about tech. But it's not the biggest responsibility is on the user experience team and quality assurance team, who are actually checking if the tech teams did the job following the guidelines. That's not like magic. When it comes to technology, it's super simple. Like, for years, we have something called WCAG, Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. Right now, it's version 2.2. And this is kind of the standard. It's not a standard, it's a guideline. So this is also important. A lot of different suggestions in this guideline can be interpreted and implemented in a different way. But it's important to understand those guidelines to know what we want to reach. And then, if we reach it, it doesn't really matter how. There is an interesting change in 2.2, the difference between 2.1 and 2.2. Up to version 2.1, those guidelines required that the code of the website will be all correct. So we don't have any syntax issues. But actually, in 2.2, it was removed. And that's OK, because we don't have to really blindly follow the regulations that the code has to be perfect. In the console, we cannot see any errors. No, because if we fulfill accessibility requirement, if the code will be fully accessible, even without some errors, or maybe we need those errors to make it accessible, that's fine. We still reach the right level. And levels. There are 3 levels of content accessibility. And just to remember the most important thing, the middle one, AA, should be something that we aim for. Like, single A is a super minimum. OK, it helps, but it's missing a lot of elements. AA is the most broad and at the same time easy to access, easy to reach. With AAA, this is a perfect situation, but it involves a lot of much more time-consuming efforts. Because we can clearly see the example that if we need to provide a sign language translation for most of the content we have, that's a huge effort. So of course, we want to make everything accessible, but we have to accept that some parts of the accessibility are still too difficult. Maybe you are aware of that, maybe not, but for a long time, I wasn't. I was asking, why we need to really translate every content to sign language? Because we have everything written there. Because actually, people who are deaf have problems reading the text, how we create it. So they communicate with sign language. And to really understand the context, they need sign language translation. And of course, sign language is a separate topic. There are different sign languages for every country. So we cannot make it perfect, but we can try to make it good enough and try to find the right balance. And that's where AA is the right level. I don't want to talk more about WCAG. There are a lot of materials, and I really strongly encourage you to look at that, to understand the general principles of the content guidelines. It really helps to understand the general concept. Okay, a little bit of advertisement. This is important to encourage your partners to think about accessibility. It is not really a top business priority yet. And I know it from my company, I know it from other companies. So it's good to encourage your partners to work more with accessibility. I'm happy that I have this opportunity to work with partners like Kuba, that we are trying to make the internet more accessible, even if it's not really required by law yet. That's just a good thing, to talk to your partners about accessibility, because even if they are not super skilled in accessibility, again, it's not so difficult. Most of the companies, they can get all the accessibility skills pretty quickly. They just need a little bit of incentive, and the best incentive can come from clients. So, when it comes to getting ready for the regulations, what's the action plan? That's the most important. That's why we are here. I can tell all those stories, but after all, it would be nice to leave this room with some action plan, what to do next. And I think the good idea is to start with noting this date. This is the date where all the member states in EU has to be fully complied with those new regulations. So of course, in theory, we should all have this law starting in 2022. No one was ready. But in 2025, it's already the time that, like a group of people in nice black or blue, dark blue suits with the proper IDs, they will start visiting different companies and charging fines. That's funny. That's one of the first things that was really established in the Polish regulation for accessibility was the design of the controller ID. Smart. It just shows us why we are all doing that. So June 25. It's 1 year from now. So you may think, okay, let's forget it. We will think about it in May 25. Yeah? But of course, you can do it. You can do it. But if you are starting a new project right now, it will take about 4-6 months to build. So with all testing and maybe some changes and adding new features to make it cool, more perfect, it will take almost a year. So you will be launching a new project right there in June 25. And if you will think in May 25 about accessibility, you will be like, hey guys, you built our beautiful website, but we just want to add a small add-on, just make it accessible. What? Because if you want to do it in 1 month, it will cost a lot of money, it will bring a lot of stress to everyone. But if you think about it right now, it will cost no extra money, because all those technologies are regular web standards. And all those processes I mentioned before, that's nothing really fancy. Thinking about adding text alternative to images, it's not more expensive, it just needs people to remember about that. If I wake up in the morning, I need to add 10 photos for products today, I just have to remember that together with the photo, I need to add something more. That's really not a big deal if we start thinking about it right now. But replacing 20,000 images or adjusting code of 10,000 pages in 25, that will be expensive. And if you want to do it now, you can make testing a regular process. If you will do it later, you will need to have some expensive audits. After the audits, you need to make another action plan. So again, doing it now, it will save a lot of money and make your service product accessible even before it's required. So of course, it's up to you if you will use it also for promoting your business as a responsible business who thinks ahead of regulations. So when you already have the date noted, I'm sure you have, do it again, June 25, please. Take a photo, note it, tattoo it, whatever. That's really a solid action plan. Start educating now. When you come back to your office, ask, hey, do you know something about accessibility? When you will have another weekly, monthly, daily meeting with your tech team, ask them, hey, do you know how to build it accessible? Is everything in order to make it accessible? Do you need any help? So education and awareness. This is number one. This is where all it starts. Because if your management, if your tech teams, they will be not aware of that, it will be always forgotten. Because in IT, it's always like, we have a lot of time and there is always not enough time. So we have to educate. We have to educate that this is a normal part of the project. Test your site, test your solutions. Start testing your sites now. There are a lot of free software to do that. You don't have to buy expensive audits. There will be always time for that. You can start doing it on your own. If you will educate your teams, they will know how to use it. And they will do it on a daily basis. This is also a good opportunity to make sure that you know what you have. So you inventory your websites, apps, documents, multimedia. So at least you understand how much of that you need to update to make it accessible. There is a simple thing you can do even right now. Publish accessibility statement. Because this is a simple file that is linked from your website that will tell people how accessible it is. If it's not accessible, that's also fine. You don't have to be accessible yet if you are running a commercial project, not a government website. But if you tell that, it makes much simpler for people. If you say that our checkout is not accessible, you cannot really finish your checkout, but you can contact our customer service. It will help people, and it's super simple. You just test your website, you know it's not accessible, write it, and you will think how to make it better. And this is something that everyone can do, usually even without tech teams. And the last one I already told you about. When you are looking for partners, when you are discussing like a new plan with your partners, just include accessibility in those talks. When you are making a tender, planning request for information or request for proposal, include accessibility. Because even if it's not required right now, June 25, that's not that far away. Okay, and next month, we have a global accessibility awareness day. There will be a lot of online events and offline. There is also a Romanian accessibility awareness day, but it's actually for some reason, I don't know why, it's in a different date. It's in September, but there is a big conference in Bucharest. So it looks very interesting. I found it when I was preparing for some local accessibility content for Romania. But it's good to know that next month, 16th of May, is a Global Accessibility Awareness Day. Just look for many events online. There will be a lot of free materials, a lot of educational content about accessibility. And in September, maybe it's worth to join this conference in Bucharest. And the last thing about Romania, and actually about Cluj, look at that. There is a really cool startup from Cluj-Napoca. It may be hard to find them now because I can see from their posts they are mostly spending time in Silicon Valley now. But they are building something that can solve some of our accessibility issues. They are creating, I wouldn't call it glasses, it's more like a navigational tool that is using vision recognition for blind people just to tell them what's ahead, what they see. So it's really interesting stuff, and it's from here. So like it's amazing. It's like we have a technology startup hub here, and it's worth following such innovations. Okay, and that's all. I'm here for the next couple hours and after party. So if you have any questions, would like to discuss something from about I was talking about, I will be happy to share. And that's it. Thank you very much, and
so much,
enjoy the
Kuba.
rest of your day.
Thank you. We do have time maybe for one question, if we have questions from the audience.
I was just wondering if you can recommend us like a checklist that we can use in order to verify our clients' web shops, or do you have something that we can start from?
There's like if we want to really simplify the checklist, the previous checklist is enough. Just start planning, discovering different aspects of accessibility. Because when it comes to really verifying technology, because I think that's what you are asking for. It's all about WCAG. So it's more understanding all the requirements, choosing the right tools. I can also like share with you, if you are interested, I can send to organizers a couple of links that they can share with you, some of the tools that we are using internally, because it's like the checklist itself may be pretty long. And it all depends also on your customers, how deeply you want to investigate different issues. But in general, most of those tools, they are super easy to use, and they will just give you like a long list of issues that you should take care of. So really nothing simple, like I don't know, 10 or 15 checkpoints. It's more general understanding. Because also WCAG is a guideline. It's not like a very strict, that it has to be built exactly like that. It just describes the general goal of the priority, and then there may be different ways to reach it.